Good evening, TDN listeners and viewers to this week in interview. A very warm Wednesday night wishes are coming your way, especially if you are somewhere in the continental USA. I think everybody has been having an extra dose of cold, of chill. So we're sending you some warmth from this week in interview. I hope you're having a wonderful week. I hope if you're in Dominica listening to us on RVR Jams Radio on DigiPlay channel 59, they carry this week in interview live. So if that's how you're joining us, welcome. And I hope that the rain has subsided a little bit. I understand it's been raining in Dominica for the last couple of weeks nonstop. Also in the Toronto Market Radio, SBE online carries this week in interview live. And however you're listening to us on our website, tdntv.net or tdnradio.net, or on YouTube channel, on Facebook. Welcome to you. And while you're there, give us a like and make a comment. Also, text somebody, let them know that this week in interview is on as well. Tell them to come on and bring somebody with them. We really need to grow the audience so that we can get the movement that we are looking for. It is right up in February. This is the first show of February. I think it's the fourth show that we're having for the year. And tonight, is one of our free nights. And I say free nights is that we've committed the third Wednesday of the month to food production, sustainable agriculture and food production, make agriculture great again. We do that every third Wednesday now. And on the fourth Wednesday, we talk politics, economics, social with Alex Bruno. So the two Wednesdays that I have to exercise my freedom is the first and second Wednesday of every month. And tonight, I invited the United Workers Party of Dominica to be my guest tonight. They're coming off what appeared to be a somewhat successful rally in the village of Grand Fort on this past Sunday. And so I just thought it was a good time. I haven't had them on the show for a while. As a matter of fact, I was going through some of the archives and I see I had a wow program before the election before the last, Women of Workers, with there were these dynamic women who were on the ballot at the time, and that was the last time. And tonight I have the public relations officer of the United Workers Party, Mr. Glenroy Soso. I have him on here as well as Ronald Charles, my old student from the technical college, all grown up and big man now. And I see him doing his own, and I feel proud to say that maybe I had a little iota of input in his development, and very proud of the young man that he has turned out to be. I always, when I think of Ron, I always think of his one-man protest when he was advocating for the nurses. So he's one of my guests on tonight. But without much further ado, I want to bring them up on stage. Mr. Glenroy Coffee, you call him Soso, affectionately known as Soso, and Ronald Charles is attorney at law, but I just know him as my former student um, at the state college. I taught at the convent high school in 1986. And so sometimes when I go out to these Dominican events, I run into my past students and they're like, Sir Drago. And I'm like, Jesus. And then when I came back from studying in 1990, I did a couple of years of teaching
Mhm,
that's some of the engineering programs at the state college. So I do
mhm,
have a little bit of training of the young people in my background. But that's not what that's. I mean, we can talk about that, but really tonight we're talking to them in their capacity, in their own capacity, because we're always interested in who they are, because they're individuals who are very much accomplished. Mr. Soso has Mr. Coffee so has an agricultural background, work as in various capacities as extension officer and program lead in some of the in the banner industry, um, and of course He has his bachelor's degree and his master's degree, and he has been the public relations officer for the United Workers' Party now for a few years. And as I said, Mr. Ronald Charles is an attorney at law practicing in Dominica, and we see the work that he does against the odds when some of these folks are challenged, and he represents them because the incumbent party has a habit of picking people up and arresting them, and sometimes releasing them with no charge, or keeping them in courts for a long time. And by and large, the attorney that's usually there by their side advocating for them and defending them is Mr. Ronald Charles. So right off the bat, I want to tell him thank you for the work that he's done in that regard. But let's start it. Gentlemen, I'm going to give each of you a chance to introduce yourself uh, in your personal capacity, and also in your office at
Mhm.
United Workers Party. Um, PRO, I'm going to start with you, Mr. PRO, and ask you to and welcome you to this weekend interview. You you
It
muted.
appears that you continue to defy the principles of aging, because when you say that you taught Ronald, I'm still a man with a good eyesight. I'm still a man with a baby face. So I am just trying to wonder, where do I put you in terms of, growing? But let us say you are aging young, it's a good thing.
In the age of AI, sometimes you cannot believe everything your eyes shows you, right?
No problem. No problem. Let me just say good night. It's a pleasure to
Good
be
night.
here tonight. Let me
Mhm.
say good night to all your listeners. Both, I know you have a lot of international listeners. And
Yeah.
also, let me just send greetings to Roseau Central constituency and the many persons that live in the diaspora, our executive members, and our political leader tonight. I know he has a fruit issue because he has had a hard weekend. But all in all, it's a privilege to be here tonight, and I hope that we can navigate through this tonight's event, with ease and with a lot of animation. Man, I like live things, and it's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. And those of you folks who are not familiar with Glenroy, he contested the Roseau Central um, seat. How many times?
Once
Once,
in
only once
2019,
in
yes,
2019. Okay, because the following one, your party boycotted that
right,
election,
and I'm
right?
still the current caretaker as well. So
Of the
Roseau Central
Rosa
constituency.
Central, because really and truly, when I think of the parties, I think of them as government in waiting. And so when you say that you're the caretaker, um, you really are presented by the party as the alternative to the incumbent. And so we'll dive into that, because that is Rosa Central, is where the capital of the central economic and financial activity of the country is centered. So it's an important seat. So we'll get into that. Um, Mr. Charles, welcome back. You've been here a couple of times. I think the last time you were here, we were talking bicycle, I think, racing,
Yeah, we were
because
doing
you
that, but we also were talking about youth
youth as well. Yeah,
and that. But
yeah.
I let me say a warm good evening to all your listeners, and I always try to put on the heart of respect. So I'll say, a good evening to you, Sir Drygo.
Just one time for tonight. All right. So
But
we've checked that box.
I, so again, I want to of course I was listening to Soso, and I know that he in terms of his credentials, Soso don't like to talk about the work that he has done at the University of the West Indies. He had masters and all that, but he
Yep.
always said to me, "But Ronald, boy, I don't want too much people to call me." But but this is a man that is well qualified in
Well
his field,
qualified,
and
definitely.
both agriculture and otherwise, and I have great respect for him, and a man of great principles. So, but
Thanks,
let me
man.
just say, yes, as your listeners would know, I'm an attorney at law, and of course, I received my bachelor's in youth and community development at the University of Sunderland some time now. And of course, you would know, Mr. Drygood, that I also have a diploma in architectural engineering and building designs, and you know the maths had me going. That's why you sent me for extra classes. Of course, I'm also an online facilitator from time to time at the University of the West Indies, and um, I also involve in cycling. I'm the president of the Cycling Association and the chairman of the Dominica Football Association Disciplinary Committee, which has been challenging over the past couple of years in terms of the number of issues that comes before the disciplinary committee.
Wow.
And to add to this, I am now embarking on a integrity course in the FIFA World Integrity Program, which is a diploma program. And I just came from Miami. That we can talk about for my entrance fee in Miami and my discussion with the immigration officers. But that maybe is for another topic. And
No,
so
no,
that
it's quite relevant. It's quite relevant to tonight's topic. Yeah.
that program is ongoing and it will complete in 2027 because, as you know, match manipulation is a big issue in the field of sports. And of course, I also am the head of chambers at Ronald Johnson Associates in Roseau, and I'm looking at, of course, going into the region and starting to get some other areas of work of interest. I am definitely interested in pursuing my master's in mediation. I think the world is going down that road. I think litigation will soon be diluted because I believe when people sit at a desk, they can resolve, almost any issue. So having said that, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm ready to discuss the issues that you would like us to talk about.
So let me start a little bit in kind of a segue because I know a lot of people are interested in your experience entering the US because there's not a lot of information that's coming from the government. And so a lot of people are in flux. Should I take the chance and go? Are you turning everybody back? What would would allow them to let me in?
Well,
So first of all, were you traveling on a visa?
yes, I was traveling on a visa,
Okay.
B1, B2 visa, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And well, my experience started like when I entered the line. You're so much with the issues that we've been confronted with. I can tell anybody it's not a very comfortable line to be in because you see, you're not sure what going to be the end result. But however, I must admit, when I came to the immigration officer,
Mm-hmm.
gave him my credentials. He seems to have been aware of as to where I was going, but he definitely said to me that there are restrictions as it relates to Dominica persons entering the United States of America. He made mention of persons not getting more than 30 days
Right.
if they were to travel to the US. And again, different immigration officers may say different things. And one of the reasons that he said that is this because of some the restrictions that have been placed on us. He also said that, for example, I was in the US on the 19th and I had only 3 days as part of the course in Miami, the integrity course with FIFA. And he said, well, basically nowadays what will happen is that you get what you come for. Anything above that, you're illegal. So, for example, if you came for the 3 days, he would give you the 3 days. However, he said to me, considering that, Mr. Ronald Charles, he said to me that he's going to give me an extra 2 days in the event something happens. He doesn't want me to be in the States illegally,
Wow.
So in case, you have a mishap, something happens. So that's what I got. I got 5 days, but I was really there for 3 days. But
Wow.
other than that, it was very nerve wracking because you're not sure what they're going to do with you. However, I had that dialogue and I was able to go in and out nicely. And that
What
was
about
my.
the fee, the some deposit
No,
that
that
they
is
had to
not
make
that. As long as you have the visa, it appears to me that that does not relate to you.
that they're
I
not
think it's
enforcing that?
yeah. I think it's really have to do with the application, or maybe an immigration officer or attorney can maybe tell me better. But as far as I can see, I did not have to pay any money in this regard. But definitely, there are restrictions as to on people like Dominicans entering the U.S.
Okay. Thank you for sharing your experience. And I'll be quick to say that it seems to be a case by case.
That
So
is correct.
I don't want people to say, oh, they let Ronald in, so that gives me confidence that I have a good chance of getting in. Um, the news that is that they don't have a complete blackout. So there is a possibility that somebody with a Dominican passport can go. Again, you will go into a very clear cut
Yeah, he
business and so on.
it appears that definitely it appears that he knew that I was coming,
Mm,
if you understand what I mean.
right, right.
Yeah, because I
Okay.
guess they had a list, because of all these restrictions. So it's something that was nerve wracking, and it tells us that I remembered when I went to Sunderland, University at that time, a few years from now. And I can tell you the experience was you're proud to be a Dominican because you were sailing through,
Yeah,
you know. And now with the restrictions that we are faced with, one have to question the governance of the country and the way we do things, and it cannot be business as usual. And I'm sure my colleague Mr. Susu may have some views on that.
yeah. So we're coming to you as the PRO of United Workers Party. Um, I'm going to give you the opportunity, because we will not get it when we get deep into the discussion, to present the United Workers Party to the audience as a viable and smart and how would I say it? If a qualified and effective party to take over the reins of governance of the country.
Yes, actually, we have always been talking about wanting to govern this country a second time again, because we have done it in the past and we know that we have the ability to do it again.
Hmm.
Let me just remind persons that, we have a group of qualified men and women of diverse backgrounds and in different fields, and that in itself is a preparation with respect to spearheading the respective, governance structure in Dominica. But let me just say the United Workers' Party, of course, is the viable alternative. And with Dr. Thompson Fountain at the helm, and with this 10 pillar plan that we are proposing to the people of Dominica, and shared prosperity as a whole as the outcome, I believe we are actually even more ready and poised to get forward. We've noticed, in fact, let me tell you something, the way we do things is that you get data, you gather data, you analyze data, and you report. We are certain that our agricultural sector is sort of whittled, and it's like as if it is no more. Because if I ask someone right now, what is our chief export, a Dominican, I don't think he or she has the answer to this. So yes, we will actually look at revamping our agricultural sector, not just about putting people to plant, but actually finding the necessary markets and to ensure that what people plant, it will sell. Because it is important that, in terms of generating direct foreign exchange, to this country, we have to have a plan. And we're talking about an agriculture, not just about a fresh produce driven market, but one that where you have a conversion of secondary products from primary products to secondary products, in a sense, your raw materials to your secondary materials. And simple as that, a simple example could be, you have let's say plantains. Why not, peel the plantains, get it processed, and have plantain chips? And you can have various other stuff made with other agricultural produce. We have meats, we can package it, we can smoke it, and do it. So when you're talking about our animal husbandry or agricultural sector, we'll comprise fish, we can have fish, we can do fish fillet. And that is the kind of direction we are heading. But more importantly, though, as a government, we must be we must be able to actually generate policies that actually going to impact positively on the Dominican populace. And so your policies as a government, they are very important with respect to directing where your components of growth or your growth sector is going to head. Because if I say, for instance, we're going to revamp the tourism industry, you cannot just do that without a plan. You have to have a policy governing tourism And then you have to have all the expertise and all of the technocrats ready to make sure we execute. And you have to deliver a product that people will buy into. People nowadays, they don't travel for traveling's sake. They would like a destination where they know that it leaves lasting memory. And so Dominica has I can almost say, a new destination in the world, because with all what we are going through now globally, we are only known for the bad things with respect to the passport and CBI. But people must know, other than just that predicament we are in because of this government, we have a Dominica that is of a natural nature, and that people must look at that new destination as their new home now, and even to come and invest and to settle, because we have a lot to offer. And so this 10 pillar plan, which of course it will not be able to go through it, all of it, but I'm just saying, look, this is just a work in progress. And importantly, too, we have to understand that when you're talking about development of your country and moving forward, you must have a component of youth. And so our youth, the retention of youth, it is very important that we do so, because it's not only retaining them, but to ensure that when they are retained, that they are gainfully employed, and to actually direct a path of study and development, so that when they return to their country, they can serve. Too often, our young people, they go out, they study, nothing of what the country needs. You need to do a needs assessment. You send your students out, they come back and they contribute in the area where we feel we need to develop. So it has to be a holistic approach. It has to be an integrated approach with the various sectors. And that is how we're going to do it. We cannot be, developing one sector in isolation of the other. We have to do it holistically. We have to do it in an integration fashion. And that's how we have to actually bring forward. So we have 10 people that once we are given the chance, that we are ready to govern, we have the experience, we have had this country in crisis before, and we brought it into recovery. It is in crisis again, and we are going to meet it in recovery. We're going to meet it in crisis, and we are now going to take it over. But rest assured, that is not about just us and the policies. Dominicans have to make up their mind to work, because the policies that are going to be set are the policies that are actually targeting them to perform, which means that the tools or the inputs will be there. You just have to use the tools and techniques to get the outputs, and that's where we are going.
All right. So you're making a case that the United Workers' Party, if given the opportunity to govern Dominica, can take the country into a direction of development. And you mentioned agriculture, agro-processing, the youth, really paying attention to the youth, and so on. So I know you mentioned the 10 pillar. We will, if you have them, we will list them a little later in the program, even if we cannot go into detail into each of them. But I think it's important for folks to understand that the party has thought about it sufficiently that they've actually condensed it in written form on paper, the various aspects of their governance that they hope would convince the populace to give them a chance to get back in the reins of government. Ronald, I'm going to come to you, and the I live in the US, but I lately I have been to Dominica a couple of times because I'm starting to think, not starting to think, I think I'm ready to come back.
After
and
we
so
waited.
and so I came down a couple of times and looked at stuff. But then you see the news and you see there's a lot going on. But Dominica seems to be operating with a firewall. There seems to be an opaque wall where um, the government business doesn't seem to be the public business. It's like mind your business. Get up in the morning, go do what you have to do, go back at your home. Let the people in power in government do what they do, and you don't have to understand um, how much is the international airport, when is it supposed to be done, who the type of contract where the plan. There's so I'm taking the airport, but there's so many things that seem to be happening in a spirit of, I don't know if it's secrecy or well, what big state secrets we are defending. As somebody who is involved in the legal aspect of it. Um, First of all, do you agree with my assessment, my impression? Because it's my impression. And how would how would a government of the United Workers Party appear to be more open and transparent than what currently updates?
Well, let me start by saying, notwithstanding what the premise of which Soso was speaking of at the 10 pillars, the issue of accountability is important in any governance. So, for example, let's just take a few examples. In terms of accountability, you cannot have a system, for example, where the right to vote becomes an issue. I think this is one of the most fundamental rights that that people enjoy as part of a society, as part of the Dominican public. And when you deny a person or citizens from having the basic necessities to be able to vote, that to me is a fundamental error, one. And it tells on the government that it's about power and remaining in power. So the United Workers' Party, for example, will ensure that that right to vote, you see all the issues that we are confronted with today, that would be dealt with in the sense that persons should have the basics, which is the voter's ID, cleaning of the list. I cannot understand. I've been trying to understand it for the past couple of years. I don't understand how simply something is. Yes, it cannot be done. And one can come to the conclusion is because persons want to remain in power. Now, you mentioned the issue of, for example, X, Y, and Z is being built. There is no accountability as to how much it's going to cost. We have the issue of the CBI program. We have been on over the past 10 years, it can be subjected to correction, or more than that, maybe 15 years, maybe even 20 years, involved in the selling of our passports. And then can you imagine that you now have to go to court to be able to tell the government, which is legislation, to tell the government, this is the way in which the revenue is supposed to be dealt with. It's supposed to go in a consolidated fund, and it's supposed to be used by the by our people in terms of those who have that right to do so. It is in the hands of other people. This is not part of our law. That's not part of our constitutional rights. So these are some of the things that I believe we're definitely going to address, because you have to address it. We are before the court, for example, and the trial date will be the 23rd of February as we take this matter to the court, and we are saying that monies collected from the sale of CBI or the CBI program ought to be in the consolidated fund, and we are demanding that this is the way it should be done, and that people can be, the government has to be accountable for the monies that they receive for and on behalf of the people of Dominica.
So who took the government to court on that regard?
That is us. Bernie Ryan is the claimant in this matter, and the United Workers' Party took this matter before the court.
I see.
And we are getting there. Now, the trial date is the 23rd of February 2026 at 9 a.m. in the morning. We will hear from both sides the debates as it relates that why we believe that the monies coming from the CBI should be in the consolidated fund. This is a case that I believe a lot of people should be looking forward to, because it has a lot of implications, and we want to see where it goes from where. So that is before the court.
So, for example, let me just jump in there. I remember that St. Lucia, there's a website you can go for St. Lucia's CBI program where there is a report that's generated for every fiscal year that give an account of the passports that are sold, the monies that are generated, and how the money is distributed. I don't think we have that for Dominica, right?
Well, what I do know is that we have a CBI website where you can go there and you can get information about the program, the agents, etc., etc. But as it relates to accountability,
There's
I
no
don't
report
feel
that's
anywhere
generated.
I have seen
Yeah,
any figures telling me 50,000 um, um,
passports.
passport was sold, etc. Not on the internet. It may have come through cabinet. That is why it was able to be challenged when it was said, I believe, by the prime minister. I can be subjected to correction on
Okay,
that, but that is where that information came from.
came from.
So,
Okay.
so that is where we are, and understanding, and it's interesting, because every time we speak, we speak of what the United Workers Party bring on the table that would convince a voter that this is the way forward. But we also have to look at what did the current government did that they should be removed. You understand?
Mm.
Because there are a lot of issues that we're confronted with, and it is just um, and I want to take this opportunity to really talk about this. I believe as Dominicans, we have a right to know what is going on when as it relates to the affairs of this country. We have to know what is going on. For example, the Debosh issue with the mining and all this. If there were not, activeness going on in terms of one or two Dominicans who really came out and say, hey, this is wrong, probably, I believe it would be probably still be going on today. No accountability as to what is going on, and the government continues to do things without checks and balances because it's the whole corrupt nature of the government is just going ahead doing whatever they want, and I believe those things need to be addressed, and sometimes you have to go a little bit back before you go forward, and I believe the honestly what has been happening to Dominica, it cannot be fair to the people of Dominica, and people of Dominica has a right now to stand up as patriots and to say enough is enough, and Dominica needs to be governed in a way that our young people and the next generation to come will be quite comfortable and happy with what we have done in terms of a country moving forward. So, to go back to your question, we have to definitely look at some of the what has been happening to us as Dominicans, and how the United Workers Party can definitely bring a difference in terms of governance, because governance is a wide window. Our socioeconomic system is already, plunging. The prices of goods and services is plunging. Taxes are going up crazy. So we are really on the bad end of things, and in so doing, United Workers Party would definitely take a different angle as to the way forward on some of the issues that confront our people on a daily basis.
All right. So you're saying that the United Workers Party would be more forthcoming with information,
That is correct.
and one of the areas that me personally very concerned about is how contracts are awarded. I'm in the construction industry. I work in the construction industry, and it really bothers me that huge projects are handed out without. I don't know where to look, but I don't see an invitation for contractors to submit bids, and when the bids are open, and a report generated in terms of 10 companies bid, and this is the lowest bid, and this is what, and how the whole procurement of the government seem to be um, disregarded in terms of what obtains. The other thing that concerns me on a personal level is that when I'm in Dominica, I see a lot of our young people not employed except for having brush cutters or whatever it is on the sides of the road. Now, I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying
Right,
that
right.
the skills that we require to build our country. I taught at the technical college, like I told you, and we used to educate auto mechanics and refrigeration technicians and guys trained in the building trades and basic engineering and architecture and all of those things. I imagine they still have those programs, but I don't see a lot of work that's taking place, that's employing those people. I need to take a quick break, um, to get a word from our sponsors. When we come back, I would like you guys to address how we will handle those socio-economic challenges. Because what that environment has done is resulted in an environment where we have a lot of young people who see their only way forward is to escape to another country. And those that cannot escape, the frustration sometimes manifests itself in ugly ways. So what was the thinking and the planning and strategizing of the United Workers Party to deal with those types of situations? But let me take a break real quick, and then when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with my guest tonight, the Public Relations Officer for the United Workers Party, Mr. Glenroy Coffey, and Ronald Charles, Deputy Leader of the United Workers Party. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Presented by Presented by
People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.
Running a radio station shouldn't be chaos. It should be simple, smart, and professional. With Joan Premium, your entire week schedule is beautifully organized and easy to manage. Real-time accuracy keeps your listeners in sync with every show. Your visitors and audience sees the right schedule every time, wherever they are. They can even choose different time zones. From analytics to social media and native app integration, Joan Premium is the professional tool your station deserves. You're never alone. We provide priority support for active license users. We're building a community. Connect with broadcasters worldwide through our Joan Community Hubs. Choose your plan, annual flexibility, or lifetime freedom. Get Joan Premium today. www.gndenterprisesinc.com or call 877-698-9894 for more information.
All right. Thank you so much for staying with us through the break. I was just reading through some of the comments that are sent to me through WhatsApp. And folks, a lot of folks are tuned in, are locked in. And there's a lot of well wishes to my guest. My guest tonight is the United Workers Party, represented in the person of the Public Relations Officer, Mr. Glenroy Coffey, and Mr. Ronald Charles, the Deputy Leader. We started off the program by just asking them to just paint a broad vision of what the party is offering, that is supposed to convince a voter to support the party and to give the party another chance at governance. We know the United Workers Party was in power for almost 5 years, 4.5 years, because a term in Dominica is up to 5 years. I have my own issues, but tonight is not the way time to decide that. I believe in term limits and a fixed date for election, as until we can heal that, we run the risk of having people come into power and then be only interested in staying in power. But if that person knows that I have 2 terms, maybe we might get some people who might be incentivized to think about their legacy, and in that, even if it's a selfish pursuit, the country might benefit from that, because that person wants somebody to say, okay, while I was prime minister, this was done, this law was passed, and we took the country from so much in GDP to so much in GDP. Those are the things that make a real difference in the lives of our people on the ground in person. So I so I want to come to you. We spoke a little bit about young people, and we know that the country future has to be our young people. I mean, unless we're planning to import other people to fill the gap, we have to have young people who are properly educated, properly trained, and not only that, who has a heart, who feels it for Dominica and understand what it means to be a Dominican, and therefore, when it's not looking rosy or things are tough or we have a hurricane to recover from or some kind of economic downturn, that we don't just run away at the first chance. We have to grow a generation of young people who are strong and who see a reason to fight for Dominica. Talk to me about the philosophy in terms of that. You know, how would we uh, I don't think it's rescue, because I think we have young people who are eager, but they just don't have the opportunity to express that eagerness. So talk to me about the party's posture and stance towards young people that would seem to be different from what obtains. And my personal thing, I am basing it on the fact that this government doesn't seem to want to see a playing field without seeing some kind of construction happening on that playing field. The most fundamental glue that holds young people in a village together is to go play like a football and cricket on a field. But everywhere in Casablanca, where I'm from, and everywhere, what we want to do is put a building on a playing field. So what would be the approach, the posture towards our young people that would we hope would engender in them a mettle to stay in their country and to build their country. Muted, unmute, unmute. So there you go.
Yes, so earlier on when you made your introductory remarks, while you were speaking, you talk about every Tuesday or Wednesday you're having a program called Sustainable Agricultural Development. So too, we have to understand that we have to have a sustainable, employment force or labor force. And so we have had that experience before where we had farmers working, and now most of them have grown old. They call them the traditional head. But what was the problem is that we have never had a replacement program. So therefore, now our agriculture going down, or all the farmers are going away, there's no replacement. We cannot afford to let that happen to us. So let's go back to our young people. That is why if we put our thrust now on the education pillar, we have to say education, but not merely academics. We have to slash that with also the vocational and technical aspect of our young people in terms of generating skills. And it's unfortunate in Dominica that we have the closure of the public works, because if you recall, during the time of public works, many of the welders we have today, many of the mechanics today, many of the people who are the steel benders, they came from that school of thought where they have been sustained with that kind of skills training program. And so they went on their own and they were able now to have their own businesses. They have become independent entrepreneurs where they themselves employ people and widen the scope for the private sector. So the idea is that if our young people today, it's not that they want to be on the side of the road, but nobody's coming with them with some kind of sustainable plan. Where's the skills training? I mean, people can boast about seeing people. It's one thing to see somebody, but it's one thing to offer them gainful employment. And it is important that, look, when we visit our young people in terms of our youth symposium, should that happen, we have to understand that young people have different talents and we have to make them to be part of the nation building. But by doing so, they need to tell us what they would like to do, what they are skilled in, what they feel comfortable in doing. And so our young persons must be engaged in that respect. And it's unfortunate that coaching ground that we had, that training ground, public works has closed and therefore it's no more. However, it is the desire of the United Workers' Party to have what they call a youth enterprise development program, whereby we train young persons to be equipped with skills. I've heard the leader of the country said that we do not have the required skills. That is why he has to source outside or get outside intervention with respect to bringing in the skills to build Dominica. No, if we are generating our own revenue, why is it that our people cannot actually, benefit from our own revenue? The CBI money is our money, and we're supposed to ensure that our young people are equipped with the skills and techniques so that they themselves can develop and grow and to help this country grow. So yes, our thrust is going to be there. But let me give you a piece of statistics that is very important, because that was one of the pillars, the education pillar, and I told you how we are going to work with it, academics, and you have that technical vocational aspect of it. But interestingly too, with our Kalinago people, remember this is our first people, our indigenous persons, and they have had that long outstanding issue with a communal arrangement that they have in terms of land. They do not have titles for the land, so they have that communal arrangement where they occupy land that is designated by state for them, and they work it, and they actually make a living out of it. Today, they have good roads, beautiful roads, but most of the farms are abandoned. And then what is happening? Here are a piece of statistic that frightens all of us. 70% of the population, of the Kalinago population, are poor. And the other worst aspect of it is that 50% of that figure, they experience indigence. And we all know what indigence means, very, very poor. And so we have to redirect our policies to get people empowered and to get people to work. And that business they're talking about, the NEP, that is not an NEP. That is a youth stagnation program. And I say again, a youth stagnation program, because they're really not going anywhere. They're not growing from what they do. Cutting flowers on the side of the road, of course, that's what is available, because the government let it be available. When I was going to school at the academy, every summer, we had our group of agricultural students, our group by Mr. Jolly. He assigned us to various aspects of agriculture in the Dominican society. Some of us would go with CADI, some of us go to the Ministry of Agriculture, some of us are attached to the banana industry, some of us would work with the other administrative arms of agriculture. And so we had that integrated sort of coaching as young people ready to come out. And most of us, when we came out, when we left school, we took up agriculture as a business. I'll give you one great story, that while we were introduced to that sort of summer program, what we did in the school, I remember clearly that CADI had a program, and there was a Tanya burning disease at the time. And they introduced us to a patch of Tanyas. We grew Tanyas at the back of the school, because there's always that piece of land that we do what we call practical agriculture. And what happened? We made 200 pounds of Tanyas, and we sold the Tanyas at $2 a pound. 200 pounds at $2 a pound in the market. We got $400. Mr. Jolly was able to give the school more than half, and he kept a party for us just from the proceeds, the sale of this Tanya. And so a number of us at that point said, look, but wait a while, we are going to school, but it appears that things we are doing right now, we could feed ourselves, and we do not really have to depend on the private sector or government to provide jobs for us. So we took it upon ourselves to actually become business person. I myself, I bought land. I have 5 acres of land because of that kind of background, that kind of training, that kind of early introduction. So you need to empower people. They need to see the light very early. And if your policies are not directed at enhancing and empowering young people, then we'll never see the light of day. We'll just be in a pathetic cycle of reverse, which of course is not going to be. So it's sad to see that the young persons are on, and they are very talented. Most of them are high school graduates, and there's nothing to do. So under United Workers' Party, you will see more of this coming out, whereby we direct our thrust at the youth. And we talk about not just the youth, but we need to have that integration of experience and youth, because leaving youth on their own unsupervised, it is not really the best thing. So we have to have that sort of hands-on. Look at you, Mr. Drago. I mean, come on, Anthony. You were a teacher. At one time, you said to Dr. Ronald and them at the you had some skill going on there. I'm sure that a lot of persons at that time, they had their own businesses with respect to what they were taught. So we have to go back to the arts and craft. We can go back for people to use, as we say earlier, we like manufacturing, grow their products and then transform it into secondary products and have their own business and sell it out. Government doesn't have to really employ everybody or the private sector, but they themselves, when they acquire these skills, they can actually, we can make the enabling environment right for them where they can borrow money, equip them with capital, with start-up capital, so that they can actually go out and then establish themselves, grow them, give them the incentives. We can even front load. There's a way now, front load the monies for them. And after time when they break even and they start in the grip, then you can charge them for monies borrowed. But we have to put the policies directed at empowering people and not just a talk shop, but we have to be more kinetic in our actions.
Right. Ronald, I'm going to come.
I just wanted to add, and so thank you for the articulation. I just wanted to add a couple of things too.
Go ahead.
I think too, because of the situation in our nice little nature eye, with young people, there's a lot of mental health issues that the young people are facing. And the facilities that are required to assist them doesn't exist. I recall there were times when persons, for example, had social issues or economic stress. They could go to the welfare division, fill out their little form, get the assistance in a kind of a dignifying way. All this has been removed from our young people. So you find when you walk through the streets of Roseau, you are getting more and more young people are coming on the streets, walking up and down, doesn't have anywhere to go, doesn't have anything to do. Right? And I believe that is a danger to the society in itself. So the empowerment that the young people do is the opportunity. Because even if you hear the government speak of opportunity all the time, they speak of opportunity, but the opportunity that they create doesn't exist, And the other thing that is happening, that we have gone through this partisan political kind of way of dealing with the young people. So the person that may be able to become an employer who is a young person, they just, they don't like the policies of the government, and therefore the help and assistance that they need will not be given to them because there's a list of names. And if you don't support the government in certain aspects, you're not going to get that assistance. This is what the barriers that are being placed by this government. They're putting barriers in place that preventing young people to explode, preventing young people to have a voice, preventing young people to have that opportunity, that entrepreneurial kind of relationship where the skills can be used. Because a lot of people believe that a 21-year-old cannot have a business because they're too young. And that is a fundamental mistake, because that young man should be able to employ persons within the next 5 years if you give him the proper help that he needs. You have a lot of, every time you have it, I see it all the time. The young people that are getting help with the small businesses they have, it's just for a show. You have a little event, Creole Day, put all of them by NDFD, everybody pass and see what they have, and then that's about it. The young people need that kind of support where they can themselves put the country in a better place and to be able to use that assistance they're getting to make the country better. A lot of our young people are going to St. Kitts and Antigua and all this, and you're wondering why? Because we have an abundance of water. You hear the Prime Minister speak of, that, the water coming, up at the Kubuli thing we're going to print. But then there's no movement to make it happen. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that we have this water factory, for example, where you have chemists, you have engineers, you have computer guys, you have designers, can you imagine the kind of employment that would be generated from something like that? And why you're not doing it? You're not doing it because when young people get empowered, their mindset changes. Because you're not going to talk nonsense to them, or no, you're not going to be able to just believe because you are dominating in the governance of this country, they would be able to just, do whatever you say. I think the young people will be able to think from themselves, and we would have a society where the government policies and procedures would be scrutinized by the young people. But I see a system in Dominica where you can tell me, and I'm not as you said, I like to say Sir Driver. As you said, you don't have a system where you're seeing all the young people that are employed in the NEP program are, for example, in a water factory, or or they employed, or a lot of them are employed in the geothermal project, not as laborers, but as engineers. At least, what proactive measures are we putting in place to ensure that when the geothermal project is on its feet and it's kicking off, how many young people are going to get the opportunity to be part and parcel of the management, the engineering, the skills? Because this is a new area for us in Dominica. I mean, the other places have had it, Guadeloupe and Iceland, and so have had it for years. But for us, we need our young people to be able to be engaged in this. So all now, what should be happening is a lot of young people engaging in skills training program and education and university degrees to be able to deal with some aspects of that. Similarly, with our international airport. When the international airport comes, wouldn't we be happy to see many Dominicans flying those big airline jets coming in and out of Dominica, and they becoming pilots, and we have 10, 15, 20 people already going into that field, engineering and different kinds of things. So it's not about a talk shop which the government has been doing. They talk about it, but they don't implement it, they don't make it happen. When they excite people, when the election is close, they talk about, they bring all these things out. But at the end of the day, the beneficiaries of it is not the young people of Dominica who needs to have a voice. Because I say already, we can say what you want. You give a group of young people Dominica for a period of time, with the guidance of, the United Workers' Party, that is for sure. And give it to them, and you'll be surprised of the skills and what they can come up with to make Dominica a better place for them to stay into Dominica, not to go to St. Kitts and Antigua and those countries, because we're not giving them the opportunity. I mean, I speak to young people all the time, and they say to you that they cannot come to the rally, for example, because if they come, the application that they made at Oasis might be canceled, because they saw them there. That is the kind of fear our young people are going through, and it cannot be right in a country that you say that is democratic, and persons need to be living in a society that they can grow, and opportunities are there for them, and their political opportunities is also important. You cannot prevent young people from supporting a policy and principle of a political party, and because of that they become victims. It cannot be right.
Okay, so let me put words in your mouth. You're saying that a United Workers' Party government would give the country to young people to run and develop.
Absolutely, would engage them in the developmental process, because it is important to get their input as to what we are doing so that they can help shape their future, technically speaking, with guidance, obviously, from those who have been there before them.
Right. I'm looking at the time, and
Wow.
it's already 9 o'clock. We'll take a few more minutes. But United Workers' Party has been the opposition party, the official opposition party with most seats other than the incumbent from 2000 till we didn't contest the election in 2019. In that time, we've had 3 or 4 elections that the party has not succeeded in wrestling the reins from the existing government. Currently, I mean, recently you changed leaders from Mr. Lennox Linton, who was steering the ship for quite a while, and now Dr. Thompson Fontaine, world-renowned economist, is at the helm, and Ronald, you is deputy. Glenn Roy, you are the PRO of the party. Ronald, as his deputy, I'm going to come to you first with that question. We're pretty familiar with the characteristics and the qualities of the current leader of the government. What are the qualities of Mr. Fontaine? He was supposed to be first tonight, by the way, but he still has issues with his throat, and he said that there's something that developed at Wesley that he was called to attend to. So he couldn't. So we'll get him on another time. But in his absence, sometimes it's good. Sometimes you need a broker to represent your interests because the broker can do it more honestly, and people are going to say that you're bigging up yourself and whatever and whatever. What are the qualities that Dr. Thompson Fontaine possess that
Okay.
makes him a viable and good candidate to be at the helm of the next government of Dominica?
Well, let me start by saying I'm going to ask your sponsors to probably give us an extra hour because unfortunately, um,
You don't determine that there.
so I want to apologize. But let me say that Dr. Fontaine, separate and apart from his work experiences in economics, and of course, Dr. Fontaine has a vision for Dominica. If you recall, when we started this program, Soso articulated the 10 pillars, and that was his birthright, I would say. And he's a man that has vision for Dominica. And not only that, but what is important is Dr. Fontaine has experience in dealing with economies like Dominica. And I can tell you, if you have an issue with pipes and your house leaking and so forth, you go to a plumber. If you have economic issues that dealing with dollars and cents, and to be able to put the country on a better footing, you need an economist. As we speak today, the issues surrounding Dominica has a lot to do with economics, and he's qualified in that field, and he has a vast experience. Personally, too, Dr. Fontaine has a level of strong communication. I mean, I've been dealing with Dr. Fontaine even when he was out of the country for a year or two, being his deputy. I continue to communicate with him, and Dr. Fontaine has given great guidance to me a lot of times in terms of when I speak on the public platform and to be able to communicate the way forward with his team and all the members of the team Dominica. And this man also the ability to empower others, because let me tell you, sometimes you just feel like giving up. With sometimes you feel like giving up, and the sacrifice that Dr. Fountain has been making, and a lot of people don't realize he has been arrested more than once. He's also going through the pains and suffering of every Dominican. And that is something that I admire, and the ability to empower others. So that is why you have a lot of young people being attracted to the slate. Well, I can tell you, come 20, whenever Roosevelt Skerrit calls this election, you will see that, there will be young people will be overloaded the streets of Dominica, and we'll be going full ahead. We're going ahead to ensure that things are done properly. The other thing about Dr. Fontaine is that he's a good listener. I always admire when we are having discussions, as a team, he listens to everybody. He goes out in the communities, engaging people, he listens, and you would never say, a lady said the last time, oh, that is the Dr. Fontaine, but he's so simple, because that's what he is. He's not coming there with any kind of, fake hats. He's a man with the people. And of course, his policy, procedures, and the way he does things is very encouraging. This is the man that would be able to honestly take Dominica to the next level. That's what we need in Dominica. That's the kind of leadership we're looking at. And I'm sure I'm going to leave a few other lines for Soso to assist in this regard. Soso, yes.
Oh, yes. Well, the host, with your leave, sir. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Yes, but yes, we all know that Dr. Fontaine, is world-renowned economist, and he has worked overseas and he has done well. I mean, you have not heard the countries that he has assisted economically or to help them build their economy. You have not heard them say no to that help. So we have to believe that what is done for sure has worked. Notwithstanding, I see him as a person who measures himself against, today he doesn't like to talk about it, but he always go back and reminds himself where he came from and where he is today. And that is the kind of dream he's pulling for the young people. So he's a people's oriented person, and he would like to see that what he has done, where he came from, and where he has reached. He would like to see others who believe it is impossible, that it is in fact possible. And so he has that vision for the future. And I've always said that Dominicans are a resilient people, but Dr. Fontaine to me is a resilient individual. Notwithstanding the odds against him, he will not vex you. He has a large heart. He welcomes you. He will still talk with you. I don't think he holds any grudges. And that is the kind of leadership you want, so that people feel comfortable to speak with you, to engage with you, to interact with you. I've seen Dr. Fontaine interact with young people on the block, and he listens to them. He gives them that time to speak. And so he knows that what he's gathering is information to allow his policies to build on what he believes that he should be able to give them with respect to governance. And another thing about him is very decisive. If he says he's going to do this, he's going to do this. And I'm confident that he had been at the helm of this United Workers' Party. He has already begun to harvest political souls from the other side. I mean, every day, I can tell you, my phone is inundated with calls and text messages, and they say, look, so Dr. Thompson Fontaine is just the kind of person we can deal with, and we believe we can have a conversation with. And so this is the kind of leadership skills and leadership kind of foundation that he brings to the fore. And not just for the United Workers' Party, but for Dominicans. And so Dominicans are buying into what he's been selling with respect to the 10-pillar plan. And so we expect them to react. And when I say react, we know that they're going to act. Whenever the electoral bell is wrong, they will demonstrate once and for all that they would like Dr. Thompson Fontaine and the United Workers' Party to lead them into government and to bring pure governance to them, and to make sure that the health sector is okay, because it's pointless we boast about a state-of-the-art hospital and there are no medicines there, there are no bandages, there are no basic needs there for the people. We have to talk about our tax reform policy. Oftentimes, government come and they impose tax on the people. How often does government give us back? And with this Labour Party and the way they behave, when we had COVID, everybody suffered, but they found it necessary to assist persons who support them. But all of us pay tax. Look at the value-added tax. From the time you take a loan in the bank, you have 15% for the government. So you take $1 million, $150,000 is already government-owned, because 15% tax. You have $1, 15 cents is theirs. And even now, as I said, with the youth stagnation program, a young person gets $1,000, right? And by the time you take out rent, light, and everything on their own, they have nothing. And that is why Dr. Thompson Fontaine is so adamant that he wants to reform this country. He wants to ensure that he brings a better quality of life for Dominicans. And I can tell you, if he at the helm, I'm confident that we will see a better Dominica. We just need to be given the chance. So I ask everyone here tonight to help us so that we can help you with Dr. Thompson Fontaine and the United Workers' Party.
That's great. A lot of good practical qualities you all identified. And so we'll see what Dominicans think of it. We have to wind up the discussion, although it seems like we're just getting started. So what I'm going to do is, I like vision, and I'm going to ask each of you in turn to paint a vision for the audience of Dominica, I don't know, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, but assuming that at the next election, United Workers' Party is victorious in forming the government. What would Dominica look like 5 years after that? Ronald, you want to go first?
Boy, I like to back one down, but nonetheless, I would say that next 5 years from now, and very soon from now, the United Workers' Party, and I would say the United Workers' Party again, will be in government. The reason being, a lot of Dominicans are fed up with the corruption. They're fed up with the hidden agendas. They're fed up when somebody have to be paying 64,000 for a mansion. So we are going to be in government, and therefore you're going to see first and foremost that you're going to see an economy that has been reevaluated first and foremost, because you cannot take up a country and do not go back into the archives and see what has happened over the past 25 years. That in itself is going to be a task that the Dominican people, will understand that you must do, because you must start from accountabilities. And then moving forward, once we have accomplished that, Dr. Fontaine will get in high gear, because that's what we're going to put him there for. So you will see an economy that has been transformed for policies and procedures. And I can tell you by the third year, you will see the difference. All right? You will see the difference in an economy that has been transformed and growing. I can assure you that would be the case. The quality of education and skills for our citizens, because we have been speaking about it tonight. Early childhood education, the issue of mental health. Why is it is not being addressed? So you can see a Dominica that will know. You hear Franklin Moses speaking about it. We need a home for those who don't have a home, who don't have somewhere to go and to be able to have that dialogue and to be able to move forward and have a society that is inclusive. So you will see that. You'll definitely see a move in getting those things done. Obviously, the good governance and the rule of law. I will resign if it is not there, because we've been advocating for it, and I can guarantee you that as soon as we get into power, we will be looking at strengthening the pillars of the law, and strengthening those pillars in such a way that persons, for example, the right to vote, would be able to have their ID, because we will ensure that those things are done. 5 years from now, you're going to see youth empowerment. Every young person will leave St. Kitts and come back, because there will be opportunities for them to be able to feel part of a growing nation, part of a growing economy, part of a growing country. All right? And of course, sustainability. Because if we do not see in the next couple of years, as soon as we win the election every 3 years, well, so is the agriculturists. But I can assure you that the issue surrounding agriculture will be one of pride and joy. We have shelved agriculture. A lot of our young persons, our farmers, you have nice roads from, I will admit, there's some parts in Dominica that you do have good roads. The question remains, what is happening to the roads of the farmers? They're still the same way almost 25 years from now. A lot of our farmers are leaving agriculture and now coming to get, simple jobs that are difficult to get. A lot of them are becoming, they just haven't got anything to do, and they have left their farms because the opportunities, and I'll leave that part for Soso, but the opportunities that would be given to them in terms of that, I'm sure that they will take advantage of it. The other thing is, once we get into power, and I wouldn't say power, but I'll say governance, there are a lot of capital projects that are ongoing in Dominica. The Labour Party will not be able to finish it. We can almost guarantee you that. And therefore, you will see the engagement of the political leader, Dr. Thompson Fonkin, to ensure that the international airport is completed. And it will be completed under the United Workers' Party. I can almost guarantee you that. And so we will be ensuring a Dominica that people feel a sense of belonging, because sometimes that's what our people fall short of. They don't feel like when they're in Dominica, they're part of this system, because there has been a system that has been developed over many years, 25 years, with the current administration, that's segregating people. You know, that giving only one set of people the opportunity, one set of young people the opportunity. We'll do this across the board. So you'll be able to feel that you're part of Dominica and you deserving a job. And then we might call you back to teach at the college. You deserving of a job, you have to get that job because you're the better suited person for it. And it's not because you support the United Workers' Party, you should get the job. I'm thinking that the way forward, this is the kind of Dominica you will see. Crime and violence. We have to combat crime and violence in Dominica. We cannot continue to kind of just just keep passing by, and more the murder rates within our country are going up. Our policing departments, you know, the facilities that they have to investigate crimes and to do the right things, you know, and to train our police officers in such a way that a Dominica, when, remember, I'm going to say it again, Sir Drago, when a police officer 5 years ago, well, not 5 years ago, what am I saying? Let's say 20 years ago, would speak to us 25 years ago. You know, you would have a little fight happening, two young boys at SMAs fighting, and the police officer come and everybody stops because the police officer is present. Now fellas holding police officer in, you know, they're shaking them up like as if they're nothing. So this is the kind of Dominica that you will see. And I'm sure when you're approaching the 5th year, all the containers that you've collected in the US will be packed, and for you to come and retire in Dominica, because it will be the best place to live and the best place to enjoy life.
Thank you, painting that vision. So, you the PRO, take it home.
Oh yes, let me take it away. Let me just say, I will take this, I will answer this question using the product model. You know, in business, you have the product model where you introduce a product, the product grows, it matures. Then, you know, when you get all the publicity and it matures, then it starts to decline. But before it declines, there's a strategy you call differentiation strategy. And so you have to differentiate that product before it starts losing its, you know, value, to put other products. You know, it could be the same product, but you do different things with it, make up and dress it and so. I will say in the next 5 years, we will have to have what they call a Nature Island brand. What I mean by that? A Nature Island brand could be in our agriculture. Once we transform this agricultural sector, you will have a Nature Island brand that you can say Nature Island cocoa, Nature Island coffee, Nature Island grapefruit. It can be, you can have it in pulp form, you can have it in can form, juice form, but at least agriculture would experience what they call that Nature Island brand. But before we go forward with that brand, when we establish that, we have to patent that because we don't want the world to steal it. And under that, just like what we want to talk about, there'll be no more idle hands by the road, because that brand would have to encompass everybody involved in nation building. So the guys don't have time for the block. You know, people have time to plant and sell. People will not have idle hands. And so education system would have already been revamped. We train people based on the country's needs. And so when the people are trained based on the country's needs, then you have what they call increased productivity or labor productivity. And so that's where we are going with this conversation. So in the next couple of years, that Nature Island brand will represent Dominica, and we'll all be proud to be selling that brand. And so that tourism brand will be so well marketed that this will be the final and most destination that someone would like to go. And so that is where we're going with this. So I'll just say that under Dr. Thompson Fountain and the 10-pillar plan and shared prosperity for all, that Nature Island brand is something that we have to embrace. And we have to sell it. And Dominica will now become a focus, not because it has actually bad habits with respect to CBI, but a focus where the world will be looking to Dominica to provide them with its natural resources, what we have. I mean, we are blessed and endowed by, we have to thank God for the endowment of our lands. And that's what we have. We are still by and large a Nature Island country. That's what we have. We have land. Are we going to put the necessary infrastructure? where we experience water deficits, that we're going to make sure that we have irrigation once we can do it? Are we going to see our are we going to ensure that our hospital has improved with respect to health services? Look at telemedicine, for instance. I remember Dr. Sam Christian stayed right in the US. And when, not Sam Christian, Dr. Dale Dangben stayed right in the US. And when Dr. Sam was experiencing the damage of his pelvic, I think, he was able to stay on the telephone and guide these guys how to actually stabilize him so that he could be transported elsewhere, so that he could get the kind of medical care. Do we not looking at a Dominica later where we can retain the same way we retain people like Ronald and the law associates? We can retain medical personnel, to give us advice, because that's what we will have. So that is the kind of brand we're going for. Brand in our health system, the Island brand in agriculture, the Island brand in education, in our tax system. We want to be the envy of the Caribbean. We want to be modeled. And people have to ask us again, how it is that you're able to do it. You know why? Because we are determined and the people are determined. No more will be labor. I tell you, labor is gone. You see what happened on Sunday? It is not by the stretch of the imagination. People came out in blue. Not that they support a party. Forget the party. Because you had labor rights in blue, workers in blue, freedom rights in blue. The point is, the blue is the code with blue on the road. And that is where we are going to help Dominica. And it's not about us. It's about everybody. Because there's a role for everyone. We may be leading and chanting the political cause. But for us to win, we need everyone on board. So I want to thank you for the opportunity, my brother.
Do you have a list of the 10 pillars in front of you?
Oh, yes, but I think I have it. And I remember it so well, I mean, I just want to put it in structure. And
No. If you know the 10, we can just...
quickly.
Yes.
So we have agriculture. We have to look at that. And we talk about agriculture, manufacturing, bam, bam, bam. The tourism, the education, not just about academics, but the increasing and putting the impetus on the whole idea of skills training, technical vocational training. We need to talk about our health system, where we need to augment our health system and to have better trained personnel and to make sure that we take care of all of the ailments we have right now. We have a lot of crazy people on the road. They may not be aware, but we need health facilities for that. And we need to at least arrest the problem before it becomes too mature. The worst thing is to try to get to correct health when people are already far gone. We need to have mental evaluation monthly so that people can measure their mental health to know whether or not they are in sound mind. We need youth retention and employment. We have the Kalinago territory to develop as that nice niche tourism. We need to get them on their feet. Remember, I told you of the deficiencies that they have with respect to just operating on a communal basis where they own land. They do not have actually had assets like we do, some of us. And we talk about right now governance and accountability. Ronald spoke about that before. We talk about renewable energy. We do not have to actually just exploit geothermal. We have the sun. Every day the sun shines. This is energy, We have wind in certain areas. We could have a pilot project even in Galileo, where you have pronounced wind availability for at least 6 months of the year. When there's no wind, but you store wind, you can store wind energy. And so we are not going to just, and by the way, we appreciate the geothermal, but this is also a backward move where we consume 24 megawatts of electricity, but yet we do not plant that can only give us between 8 to 10. How are you now going to take out Dominica under fossil fuel? So that's a dream still to be realized, and it's a work in progress, and we will get to better it. So that's in a nutshell what it is, manufacturing. So let me just brush it up one time. Agriculture, tourism, education, health, tax reform, Kalinago development, niche tourism. You have governance, accountability, manufacturing, renewable energy. And of course, with the whole tax transformation and policy, we need to re-examine the minimum wage, where we say we need to augment that so that people can get a decent living so that they can move forward.
Awesome.
For better quality of life.
That's a good place to live it. I mean, bang on time, 9:30 p.m. I want to thank both of you gentlemen for coming prepared and for being able to paint the vision that you are selling. As you say, it's a package, and that you are hoping that when you place in front of our people are going to see the value and therefore ask you the questions they need to ask and be able to say, okay, let's give these guys another chance. Um, the last time they were there, it wasn't that bad. Like everything else, everybody's not pleased. There are folks that have their gripes, and some of them are genuine gripes. I actually worked during the United Workers' Party government. I worked at the WASCO as chief engineer. I was there for that stint at that time. So I lived in Dominica on the United Workers' Party governance. Um, so all the best.
Thank you.
Understand that this mic is available, this platform is available. Just reach out because we all want to put Dominica first.
Yep.
Yes.
Well,
I
not everybody, but there's enough of us that wants to put Dominica first, that we can have that transformation that we desire, and we want to have. My measure of good governance is in migration. When we can slow down the migration of our young people, the exodus, right now it's an exodus. When we can stop that exodus and slow down the migration out of the country, and we can even realize the dream that Ronald said, with young people coming back from St. Kitts and Antigua and coming back home because the opportunity is there, the hope is alive again. That to me is a signal of what we're doing, what needs to be done. As long as our people see migrating as a better option or the only
option.
option in
Yeah.
some cases, then we know we're doing something wrong. And so, gentlemen, I wish you all the best as a party and also as individuals. And I really appreciate the candor. I really appreciate the forthrightness with which you um, explained and answered my questions. There was no grandstanding. There was no just posturing. I think I appreciate the way, and the audience appreciates it as well. I know Nep. I was expecting to hear Nept input, but he was so engrossed in the discussion that he didn't make a comment that he normally
Yes,
the
yes,
last
yes.
program. Yes, yeah. So that in itself is a thumbs up, I think, because I know he would have challenged you guys if he had heard stuff that was concerning to you. Nep, sorry for calling you out, but that's just me appreciating your interaction on the program. But gentlemen and listeners, thank you so much. And we do this next week. We'll do another program, and then the week after that, it's our sustainable agriculture and food production, and then the week after that is our program with Alex. So all the best, gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the
You.
opportunity.
Thanks for the
Have a
opportunity.
good night.
All
Yes.
right, good night. Mhm. So, folks, there you have it. I hope you appreciated the discussion as much as I did. The United Workers' Party presenting itself and giving good account of itself, and painting the vision, and explaining what some of the issues that they see currently exist and how they would approach solving it. I know there are other political parties in Dominica, and I reach out to them as well so that they can put their position as on the table for you. And there's a lot of talk about collaboration and cooperation among the parties. What do you think? Do you think that Mr. Glenroy Coffey and Ronald Charles were able to paint a picture for you that you find enticing enough that you're going to consider them in forming the next government? Let me know in the comments what you think. We continue the discussion as the week goes along. Shout out to my bro Duke. Happy birthday to you, my brother. Hope all is well. And of course the other folks, Angie and the family in Anguilla. So enjoy what is if you up here, we're enjoying the winter, and if you're in Dominica, carnival season is just getting into high gear. So enjoy that and be safe, have fun, be safe, be prepared after Ash Wednesday to come back and be and start contributing to the serious development of the country. So folks, good night, and we will do this again next week, Wednesday.